I am here with my client, past client, but also good friend, Charlotte Mather. And is that how you say your name? Mather.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
You
Who
get it
is a,
right. Loads of people say Mather, but you said it
oh,
right.
really? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Who is a hypno coach. And you took the course with me, I think about a year ago, right? You started the inner alignment course. And so I'm really excited because the next round is starting this February of the group course. And so I'm just reconnecting with you to have you tell your own story and share your experience for people who this might be very impactful for. So why don't you go ahead and just introduce yourself and talk a little bit about what you do and what you've got going on in your life.
Sure. So I'm Charlotte. I'm a hypno coach, which basically is just my shortened version of saying that I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, NLP practitioner, mindset coach, EMDR facilitator, lots of things. But I kind of combine it all up and I deliver what I call hypno coaching. So it's just blending those modalities. Um, when we first worked together, I was concentrating on one to one, so mainly seeing one to one clients, a lot of entrepreneurs that are struggling with self sabotage, fear of success, that sort of thing, often as a result of childhood trauma. But I know that through our work together, I really wanted to move into group coaching, and working in a group is just the dynamic that I prefer. So it was kind of at that crossroads of, okay, do I just keep doing what is clearly working for me at the minute, or is there something that I would enjoy more out there for me? So I launched a group program. It was a short 4 week course in self hypnosis, and that went incredibly well and was really popular. And I loved the energy about it. I just loved it. I look forward to the sessions. I could really feel that people were getting involved. And then I thought some more about, what do I really love? What would I love even more than this? What would I bring more energy to? And I've done a few speaking events in person, and I love that in person connection of just seeing that interaction and looking into people's eyes and just the whole vibe. So I thought, staring me in the face, I love hypnotherapy. I got the opportunity to train as a tutor, and I get my first cohort of students starting this weekend. So I've got 7 students with me for 10 months learning clinical hypnotherapy to diploma level, and I can't wait. I'm so excited.
Wow, that's huge. So you're able to do a diploma level course and you've got 7 students who are like invested in 10 months. That's huge to get 7 people who are ready to really invest that amount of time. That's amazing. And I do remember that when we first started working together, I remember, I think it was a tarot reading that we had first. And then I remember in that, the tarot reading, I remember the card Teach came out. And that was, I think you were kind of like dealing with your own sort of like, what is it like imposter syndrome, your own kind of self-doubts, like is this something that I should be doing? But I think that within yourself you did feel that you were not 100% in the right place. And
Mm.
so I'm really happy to hear that. And so um before we talk a little bit about like kind of what you were struggling with and how the course helped you, I'd like to hear how you would introduce me and what I do. How would you do that?
Okay, so this is totally unprepared. So I would say that whenever I talk about you, I say that you're a guru. You're a master at what you teach and what you do. Like, you've invested the time to really master the art of understanding energy and meditation, and how we can harness our own energy and how we can start to feel and experience energy even if we've never done that before. And I was one of those people that thought, I can't do that. And you gave me the belief that anyone can do it, that it's accessible to all of us, and also helped me to understand the benefits of being able to harness that skill of feeling energy, experiencing energy, living in the flow of the right energy, and understanding my intuition of when it feels right and when it feels wrong. Because I had a lot of that mistrust going on of other people, but also myself, not really being able to trust those instincts. So I would say that you're a guide, you are a facilitator to opening people up to another world of possibilities, regardless of what they believe or not.
Amazing, yeah. And I love that that is how you perceive me. And that's why I asked that question, because a lot of times the way that we see ourselves is different than the way that people see us. And sometimes what we think we're providing is kind of different than what people are receiving. And so I really love that you felt that I was able to create a space where I could just give you permission, I think, to listen to that inner voice. And when we work with energy, and I'm sure you can agree, it's like you're tapping into a different level of awareness than just the mental awareness. You know, we usually have this experience of arriving at a knowing that is very like intelligent, you know, it operates in words like, oh, this is the next path for you, you know? And so when we don't have those exact words, we like maybe doubt ourselves or whatever. And so giving you this new kind of tool of awareness, this new access to this new realm of like, you know, decision making and feeling and all of that. So I'm really happy that that is an experience that you had. And so when you started working with me, can you talk a little bit about what you were struggling with? I know you talked about like your self-doubt and stuff, but could you go more into detail about what you were struggling with and how that shifted by the time that we ended?
I think a lot of what I struggled with was trust. Um, Through various events in my childhood, I lost the ability to trust other people, but more so myself. So I guess, looking back now, I was very much one of those people that keeps searching for the answers outside. And my best friend, is very perceptive, and she said every course that I bought, every training I did was just a feather for Dumbo, and I could already fly. So she kept saying, "No more feathers, no more feathers." Um, but then when I started working with you, that I started to understand what she meant. That, yeah, I was looking outside of myself, that I had all the answers within. I just didn't know how to access them, I suppose. They were there, and I believed they were there, but I was like, I don't know how to get to them. I'm very analytical, I'm a very logical person. I had 18 years in corporate, very masculine dominated analytical environment, and I didn't really know. I'd done energetic stuff before with people, and I remember getting really frustrated on one program because they wanted me to do the sway, the energy sway, and I just couldn't do it. I was just rigid. And there was nothing anybody seemed to be able to do to help me, and I got really frustrated and just kind of pulled back, because again, I think I was expecting someone else to help me access something, and I couldn't work out why I couldn't seem to do this simple thing that was just swaying forward or back for yes or no. And you kind of helped me understand that on a different level, that it doesn't have to be a sway, it doesn't have to be a thing, it doesn't have to be really logical yes or no, that it is more about a feeling, it's about going within. And yeah, I just love that you provide that space for us to learn, in our own way as well. It's not like you've got to do this, you've got to do that, you've got to do. I remember at one point I got kind of a little bit analytical about, oh, which way down or which way up do I go in meditation and things like that. And you said just do what feels right, and then suddenly it was like, oh, okay, I get it now.
Right. Oh, I love that. And so so just to summarize, if I'm understanding you correctly, you said that you had tried working with energy before, but I think that you came into some self-doubt because you weren't having an experience that looked the same as other people, or it didn't fit the criteria that the trainings were telling you, like, oh, if it's this way, then it means this. If it's that way, it means this. And in this space that I was able to create, you were able to kind of find your own energy, like your energy, and develop that relationship with your energy from within rather than from the outside coming down, like this is how it should be. And that's not to say that there wasn't any informing you of how it should move and everything like that. But I think that there was much more of a space for you to play around, a little bit more freedom for you to kind of play around. And, I think that's another thing that I really try to do is like give you permission to not get it, give you permission to not feel it, like I remember you especially were one of those people who get frustrated because you'd be like, oh, I can't feel it. And I'm like, you're not supposed to, you just started. And you're like, oh yeah. Like you just, how long have you been in here? Like, it's okay. So let's, if you don't feel it this way, let's try something different. Let's try this. Do you feel it that way? You're like, no. And then I'm like, okay, let's try this. And you're like, oh, I feel it now. Right.
Yeah, it was. I loved having the options as well. The options to try different things. Like you say, it's not a strict. You have to do it this way. It's here are different tools and ways of accessing and playing around with energy as well. It was really playful at times. There's a lot of knowledge and skill that you share, but it was playful. It wasn't like you've got to do it in this rigid way, and this is what it will be like when it's right. And I loved playing around with it. I loved putting my feet in water and getting my sails and just
Yeah.
trying different things and not having to. I didn't even have to do it the same way every time. What might work one way would be something different. I need to do something different on another day. But I had those tools, and I always had you there to back me up when I would say, "Have I done this right?" And I remember you'd always say, "Well, how did it feel to you? Did it feel right? Did it feel? How did it feel?" Did it, and it's like, oh,
Right.
okay. And sometimes it
And
doesn't.
I,
Maybe it's not supposed to feel right. Maybe sometimes it's not,
yeah.
and that's okay too. So
And I
I
love
love
that
that.
because I always try to break away from that idea of right or wrong and say, does it give you the feeling you desire? And if it doesn't give you the feeling you desire, do less of it. Instead of like, thinking about, oh, is this right or wrong? Like, and so I love that you brought that up. And you also kind of talked about the energy work toolkit, like it's kind of like we do a lot of these things, and I always compare it to like a food pyramid, like a diet, right? And so like we eat from the same part of the food pyramid, we're just eating constantly rice, and then we're like not like addressing the other areas that are important, or like just working out one muscle, right? And so can you talk a little bit about that energy work toolkit and like what you like, if there any was there anything in that toolkit, or can you just explain kind of from your perspective what is the energy work toolkit and how is that powerful for you?
So, well, I would describe the energy toolkit as, I guess, ways in which to, I don't want to say manipulate, because that sounds a little bit forceful, but kind of play around with and become aware of energy. So, being able to unblock any energy that's blocked, being able to increase the flow of energy if you need to, being able to calm down if there's too much energy, being able to recognize those states. So that was the first thing, and I think that's probably the part that took me the longest, was being able to recognize, am I in flow? Am I blocked? Is energy moving too quickly out of me somewhere? Am I losing energy? Is that energy making me feel in a way that's not desirable? So, sometimes there's a lot of energy going on, and I don't want that. I want to be calm, and it's being able to just change that energy. So, and all the different tools in which we can do that, with the heat, with this different sensors, with just it felt unlimited really. It felt like I could kind of just take my pick from a bounty of different ways depending on how I was feeling. But I guess it was the finding how I was feeling that really changed everything for me, and then having the toolkit to address how I was feeling if I wanted that to change. That's where the magic was.
Yeah. So it's really about doing things based on how you feel, and a lot of times, a lot of practices out there are given to us as a one size fits all approach. Like, if you just do this every single day, you will feel better. But, like, I love the example of a diet, because when I need more energy, I drink coffee. When I need to sleep, I don't drink coffee. Like, I use these different things in my diet when I need them. If I need to pick up my energy, I might exercise one way. If I need to relax, I'm not going to go do high intensity interval training. I'm going to go and do some yin yoga, right? So it's like creating that toolkit, or creating, a set of different tools and techniques that are very basic and fundamental, but then knowing how you can then go add more to them. And really, what's at the core of it is just learning how to listen to your feeling, and how to tune into your body and ask your body in a way like, what do you need? And then, going and getting what it needs so that it can be in a more calm and peaceful state. So I hope that that is something that you experienced.
Yeah, definitely.
So
And I love that analogy of the, exercise. If you want to calm down, you don't go and do hill sprints, do you? So, yeah, and it feels like that toolkit gave me what I needed for that new awareness of energy that I had as well. I definitely felt like I knew by the end of the program what I could do to change the way I felt. It all comes down to the way I felt, and I know at the start of the program, particularly, obviously didn't know how I felt. Like, I
oh
think a
yeah, that
lot
was
of
a
us walk
big
around,
thing
we
for
don't really
you.
know how we feel
Yeah.
because it's
And
so automatic, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. And so how has, like, in the long term, like, how do you think this course has really changed your life in a long-term way, especially like as a as your in your ability to show up in your work, because I know that, we talked about how hypnotherapy brings a particular kind of energy, and, teaching and getting in front of people. So how has this knowledge of energy and of yourself affected you in a way that you think is very long term in your life?
I think the first thing I noticed was being able to protect my energy going into my sessions one to one. It's can be quite draining, and I don't mean that in a negative way. That I don't enjoy it. I have a fantastic time during my sessions, but afterwards I can feel very drained. And being able to protect my energy now, I know what to do before and after a session. To ensure that I don't have that kind of full on depletion and draining feeling. And then I think further on from that, just being able to, I guess, one, understand the power of energy. And I had this really strange experience where somebody signed up for my program and I asked why, and she said it was the energy of a post I'd put out. And so I said, which post? And I went back to it, and I remember writing the post, and I was almost like I couldn't write it fast enough. I was so excited to share what I wanted to say. Whereas my other post, probably for the 6 weeks preceding that, I'd sat there going, oh, what should I write today? What should I write? What should I write? Don't really know. Oh, I've got to think of something and write it and go, that'll have to do, post. And then it was this specific one. And she followed me for a while. She'd inquired a few times, and she came back. She went, "I need to sign up with you now. Like, send me the contract." And that it was a post just with the energy that came from it. So now I I think about that, and when I come to post, I've stopped posting so often. I don't post every day now, and when I do, I think about the energy that's behind the post. Like, is it a desperate need to make a sale, or is it I want to share something that's so exciting and incredible? And so when I made that change to group, I was so excited because I knew that's what I felt I wanted to do. And I did a few posts, and it I got quite a big take up on that course. I think there was 16 people in the end. And it didn't feel difficult. It didn't feel like I had to try or I had to convince or anything like that. I just said, this. I'm really excited about this. It's going to be amazing. Here are the details, and just a link that they went. They didn't speak to me. They just go and book on a link, and just the difference in working in that way. So I think it generated better a better type of client as well. Like they hadn't been convinced. Not that I'm a hard seller or anything like that,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
they didn't need to be convinced. They didn't need to be kind of just
Sold.
sold. Yeah, sold a story. They just wanted to work with me. They just wanted to work with me. It wasn't that they believed a story that I was telling them, and it just felt different. And the same with the diploma now. I chose to run it in person. I know that I could have sold it 10 times over if I did it online, but it's a full weekend every month, and I don't want to be on Zoom staring at a bunch of floating heads for 12 hours of my time. I don't think that they'd get the best from me, and I wouldn't enjoy it. And now my work is about me enjoying it. Obviously, I need to pay the bills, but the bills will get paid if I'm putting stuff out there that I enjoy, because I'll attract people, and I really believe that now. Whereas before I was a little bit like, no, I've got to be strategic.
Yeah, that's great. And like, even hearing that, it's inspiring for me because I think it's one of the pitfalls that we all fall into as online entrepreneurs. It's really a new frontier. And business is strategic and it has been strategic. And, it's really hard to navigate through those eras of feast and famine, and so it sounds like this course has really helped you to, I changed the slogan of my course, like own your energy and align with your purpose. And so, like, it's really helped you to, like, own that energy and to bring, like, how we always talk about the central axis and how everything kind of starts with this line and it moves outward, and so to stand in that energy and watch how holding that energy within yourself really can, like, spread outward into everything that you do, everything that you create. And so I'm really happy to hear that that is an experience that you're having. Um,
Yeah,
and
I'm really, really kind of, it, it's, it's changed my whole outlook, and I genuinely think that I won't do anything that I don't feel good about now. Whereas I did before, looking back, I probably didn't realize at the time, but looking back, there were things I didn't feel good about, not because they were bad things, but because I wouldn't enjoy it, or it isn't what I felt comfortable with, or and it was all kind of that very strategic, masculine, follow the blueprint, and everything will work out fine, and here will come your 10k months, and and I did that, and I got a 10k month, but it didn't feel good, so it didn't continue, and I'm not saying that you can just throw a post out on Facebook with something you're excited about and you'll get a million clients. I think there needs to be that foundation of business strategy, but I think ultimately without the energy, I wasn't getting anywhere where I wanted to be with the business strategy. I wasn't getting to where I felt good with just the business strategy alone.
yeah, and I love what you just said because it's about balance, right? Like it's not about getting rid of strategy, it's about not being over strategic. And we talk about the energy channels, and yours was very balanced towards that masculine type A over mental. And I always say it's not about not being mental at all. It's about having a balance where you can be like, okay, like let's say you get a burst of energy, but then you have no strategy of how to direct that energy in a way that's efficient and effective. So there's always going to be a balance there. And so when in a lot of these healing spaces, we tend to like badmouth masculinity, but it's really like the toxic and the overdone masculinity. And really, it's about reining it in and bringing it down, and then beautifying it with a bunch of the flowers and the fragrance of like, the real inner you, and bringing more of that into it. Because, really what I'm hearing is a lot of what you did was from the place of I think, therefore I am, instead of like I am, therefore I think, and like switching that around. And so, like, I think that if I do this, then I will feel good, versus like, if I start with feeling good and then I think from that space, then I can act in a way that really represents and aligns with the feeling that I have. So I am like really happy to hear that that was your experience and your change over time. So yeah, my questions are also off the cuff based off what you say. So kind of to start wrapping it up, like a lot of people don't understand how energy and meditation go together, right? Like, so a lot of times we talk about energy and manifestation, and it's kind of hanging out over here. And then there's like meditation and mindfulness, it's hanging out over here. They're all like on the same plate usually, but they're like different entrees. And so different side dishes. So what was you, or how has your understanding of meditation and your experience of actually meditating, so your understanding and your experience, changed through this course?
Yeah, so I thought meditation, like a lot of people think, as clearing your mind. Just clear your mind, and actually, I believed that for a long time, and I can't clear my mind. So I thought I'm not very good at meditating. I'll just keep trying. I'll just keep trying harder, and one day maybe it will click. And now I believe that meditation is a way of going within and accessing inner resources and tapping into that energy or intuition. So, and it's very similar to hypnosis. Hypnosis, you tend to have a very specific goal, an awareness on a goal. With meditation, it's almost like, let's see what comes up, let's see what happens when I go within. Like, it's, you don't know the answer as you do it, you find the answer. Whereas with hypnosis, it's kind of the other way around. You've got an answer you want, or you've got an outcome you want, and you guide yourself towards it with your inner awareness. But with meditation, it's like, I'm seeking an answer. Like, I know it's in there. Show me.
Yeah, show yourself.
Yeah,
I'm open, I'm
yeah,
ready to receive. Let's see what comes out.
yeah, yeah. And like, the best thing about your program was it taught me I didn't have to sit there in the lotus position for an hour at a time listening to wind chimes or something. And I've been
Which
able to
I
meditate
personally enjoy.
forever.
I love it, right? And so it's like what works for me might not work for you, and that's totally
Yeah,
okay, right? And I think it's like we forget about the goal with meditation. We get so hung up on how it looks and if it's right. And most of us we're coming to it because we just want to feel better, and like, and then we're like, that's the problem with this industry of things that are here to make us feel better. Is there's so much to learn, there's so much to digest, there's so much that everyone's blah blah blahing about. And then we get hung up in all of that, and forget, like, is it making you feel better? And I think that a lot of the meditation stuff out there is barely scratching the surface of what it can make you feel. But not only that, to get deeper, it's a struggle. Like, it's like, okay, if I practice this for a year and I go through the grueling work of doing it 20 minutes a day for a year, I might feel a little fraction of what that monk said it's going to feel like, or what that guru said it's going to feel like. And so, how do you feel like this experience, like, because I do believe that energy conscious meditation can give people a much deeper, give them access to a real, undeniable experience, not just like an idea. I think we get the idea of meditation, like this is idea that it's like gonna feel good, but like an experience that is yours. It's not another person's experience, but it was yours. How could you talk about that? How this gave you an experience, and it was like, okay, now I know from my experience what this is about.
A specific experience, or
But if you have one in mind, or just like in general, like compared to like other
I
meditation.
would say so. Since we work together, I've discovered I have ADHD. My son's been diagnosed, and through that path, I've got an assessment that says it's very supportive of having ADHD. And so I get this very busy mind anyway, this very busy, active mind, jumping from place to place. And so I struggled with, the usual meditation that people teach. Um, and for me, the techniques that you shared around being able to like cool down the heat, just it did something to my brain. It does something to my brain without me even having to think about my brain, for instance. So just being able to change that very kind of um, that very intense energy that I feel all up in my head. And is that ADHD? Is it energy? They want to put a label on it, but being able to calm that down, I'd never been able to do that before. Like, I just didn't
Mm,
think that that was possible. And I won't go on medication for my ADHD. I don't think that I need to, because I've got ways to help myself when it gets all a bit too much. So I use the energy work that you taught me, you helped me with, to help calm down that noise that's going on up in my head most of the time.
nice. I love that. And yeah, I think that, again, that's so beautiful to hear because you had a very specific need. And, sometimes like I find that people with really overactive minds, when they try to sit in meditation, it just is like a snowball of frustration because they're like, I'm not supposed to be thinking and I'm totally thinking. Why am I thinking? Oh my God, I'm a horrible person. I'm still thinking. Why am I like this? Oh my God, am I broke? Did I break the universe? I'd always say, you can't break the universe. Remember, I always say that you can't break it. Like, no, stop believing that. But in that toolkit, there was something that you found that gave you an experience of, wow, I did this and it calmed my thoughts. And so that's what I mean by like a lot of times we enter these classrooms, you can say, and there's this person standing there and they're like, this is how it's going to feel like when you get up here. And you're like, okay, well, how do I get there? And so then when you have an experience, that is something that's undeniable. That is something that's real and that's something that's yours. And then, how did your relationship with practicing change once you started to have those experiences? Because, in the beginning, it feels like a chore, it feels like homework, right? And then when you have an experience, like how did that change your relationship with your self-care through meditation and through this work?
It feels, I mean, sometimes it feels like a treat. Sometimes it's like a treat I look forward to. Um, and then sometimes it feels like medicine. It feels like rather than pop a pill, I'll stick my feet in a bucket under my desk or something. So
Ice
rather,
pack.
yeah, yeah. So sometimes it feels like medicine. Sometimes it really does feel like a treat. I never do it because I feel like I should. If I don't feel like practicing, I don't. And that's the other thing, we discussed a lot. It's like, how many times shall I be doing this, Brennan? And how often? And what time of the day? And, do I need a schedule? But actually, now I can feel when I need to use it, when I need to access my own energy, and I need to meditate. And sometimes I'll have a long meditation, and it'll be really relaxing. And sometimes it's literally like feet in the water, eyes back on, crack on with work. 5 minutes,
Exactly. I
then
love
crack on
it.
with work.
That's how you know you were my student because I'm like, yeah, it doesn't have to be that way. You know, obviously in the beginning it does take a little more time and it's not going to be as comfortable, but I'm just so glad to know that one, you know how to do it, and two, you've reached this freedom in your practice where it's not this pressure that it has to be, you know, you're like, you know what, I can just stick my feet in the water and I can keep working because I know that the water is taking out that energy that I need, you know? And so I think when you have that relationship with your practice, it's less pressure. And, you know, people tend to, I'm sure, you know, as a hypnotherapist and as a coach, people tend to open up and enjoy what they're doing when there's a lot less pressure and they can feel
Yeah.
like it's a safe place, like it's an invite, like it's more like an invitation than an order, you know?
Yeah.
And I love that. So, can you talk a little bit about like what you really liked about me as a coach, as a guide, in, you know, just like me personally, that made you like made this journey more easy or more powerful and more impactful for you?
I think that initially that element of feeling that I could trust you, and that was very much based on your experience, your knowledge that you shared quite freely, you know, beforehand as well. So yeah, that credibility that you have because of your lived experiences, as well as your obvious thirst for knowledge and mastery. Um, so yeah, really, I felt like I could trust you, and that was really important for me. Um, having having that sort of, I don't know, connection as well. So you're down to earth. You say things how they are. You would ask the kind of no bullshit questions as well, which you just like, really. Really, really, and call me out when I needed to be called out because I was hiding inside. I was hiding myself. So, you're a brilliant coach. You're an absolutely amazing coach. Just very inquisitive. a, a bit too much sometimes. Like, oh god, oh no,
I'm
we're
like,
gonna
no,
find the
you're not
real
gonna get
truth.
away with that. No, you're not gonna get away that easily. Don't glaze over that.
We're gonna get to the real truth.
Yeah.
So just I came out of the whole coaching experience learning about myself. And I think I'm very self-aware, so that doesn't happen very often. But yeah, there were a lot of moments where I thought, wow, that there's things that make sense now to me that didn't make sense before. So think you did an incredible job because I'm quite a self-aware person. I suppose I feel like I've done a lot of work. It's like there can't be anything left to uncover, and then Brent comes along.
Nice. Well, I'm so glad that even someone of your level and of your caliber was, you know, able to learn even more. And I know like I'm very I would be very picky with who I choose as a coach because again, I see myself as very self-aware, and so I would have very high standard of someone, you know, and so I'm assuming that you're quite similar because I remember we did talk about that in some of your things. You're like, I'm in this business of helping people see what they're not seeing, and I am not sure if I'm able to really receive that myself, you know. And so I'm just happy that I was able to facilitate that for you, and it really was, you know, a pleasure to do that. And so the last question is, who would you recommend the inner alignment course for? Like what kind of people, what kinds of things are they struggling with, and why would you recommend it to them?
I'd say anyone that's struggling with any type of kind of self doubt, a lack of trust in themselves, that feel like they're not in tune with their intuition and they want to be more so. Definitely, because that was also a big change in being able to trust my intuition. And there's times where I'm literally thinking, oh, it's like I'm psychic suddenly, you know. But it was always there. I just didn't know how to access it. So anybody that is, I guess, wanting to seek out their own potential, almost, I would say. So they know that they're not quite, I don't know how to put this into words. They know they're not quite operating sounds a little bit masculine. It's just the kind of
Embodying,
language I use. Do you know, like, operate? They're not
embodying,
operating. What's that?
embodying.
Yeah, embodying. That's it. Yeah, they're not embodying their potential. Um, and I guess, like me, I suppose, if you're doing all the masculine stuff and you're not feeling good about what you're achieving or what you're creating, then I think at this, energy work, this at this level, could really open up those parts of you that you can access even more of your potential. That's what I feel it's done for me.
So it's like there's something more there, and I don't quite know how to get it. Like it's like it's like an awareness that's deep inside. Like there's something more. Like that there's a path. That there's something special about you. That there's something that you're here to do. And maybe you're like in the right direction, but there's something more. There's some more clarity. There's some more potency. There's some more potential that's there. And like I'm glad that you brought up how you almost feel psychic because I talk about in the course how like we're not focusing on honing any particular gifts, but when we put you in your most natural state, whatever those gifts are will reveal themselves to you. And so it's if I'm understanding you correctly, it's really about if you feel like there's something more inside of you, there's something more on your path or like in your powers that can be tapped into, and you're not quite sure how to tap into that, right?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, and I think it'd be great for anyone that feels like they've almost exhausted the strategy stuff and then the um, physical stuff. Like they're doing all the strategy, they're doing all the physical things to make them feel good. They're doing all the logical things and they're doing all the mindset things, but
Like all
actually,
the yeah.
yeah, because that was me. I did it. I'd done all the work, but I remember in one of our coaching sessions, and I still remember it now. And you asked me to list down all the things that gave me joy, and it was like pulling teeth at first. Like, what gave me joy? I'm like, I don't know. And
I remember that
I was
one,
like a
yeah.
fulfillment coach. I was like positivity itself shining bright on Facebook every single goddamn day. And then you asked me what gave me joy, and I'm like,
Right. It
and I
was the
think I said
releasing
like,
obligation. It was the releasing obligation one, like doing things because you should or you must or you have to, and then
yeah,
doing it because you choose to. Why? Because it brings me more joy. And you were like, I remember you were like, I don't know, dancing. I was like,
dancing. And then you were like,
and
when
you were
was the
like,
last time you
painting.
danced? You went, when was the last time you danced? And I was like, I can't remember. What else do you like? Riding my bike. When was the last time you rode your bike? Years ago. And it was like, oh my God, what am I doing?
Yeah.
How could I not see this?
Oh man, that's so funny. Well, yeah, I mean, it's really clear that you've just transformed in all the ways, and it's also like divine timing. I think we came across each other right at this time when I think that your body, your spirit, your person sensed that there was a shift that was going to come, and the shift has came now, and now you're able to see where that shift is. But I think that if the universe will often present us with opportunities, but if our eyes are closed, we will not see them. They will walk right on by. And so that shift has come, and I'm just happy that the course was able to get you in a state to be able to receive. I think the lessons, the insights that were trying to come to you, but couldn't through your mind. And it's just so good to see that you are glowing and growing and continuing to dare to follow your own calling, and to say no if it doesn't serve you, and to say yes if it does, if it adds more of that energy and that goodness to your life. And I wish you like all the best with your courses and all of that. And yeah, I'm happy to call you a friend now.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And same to you. I think that people would be crazy not to jump on this in February.
Yeah.
Life changing.